Last time I beat the final boss, I got the prima materia, and I was able to complete the work. What work, you might ask? Well, it's the great work, the magnum opus of alchemy, the Philosopher's Stone. Hence the entire transmutation into gold ending that happened. And if you've been paying attention to some of the lore bits, like the Hermetic Tablets, or even just looking at the README file that I mentioned in the Noita folder last time, that ending makes a lot more sense, because the highest pursuit is the pursuit of knowledge, as the Hermetic Tablets say, and you, the Noita, are a seeker of knowledge. So what can be a better ending than the greatest discovery, not just of magic, but of all time, in the form of the Philosopher's Stone? Now, the Noita did die at the end of that. It's true, but knowledge does not come without a price. And that is going to be a theme that you'll see a lot in this game. I mean, overall, just being a seeker of knowledge is a big thing in Noita, because trying to understand how wands work, the best ways to use wands, where you want to go in each run, how you want to use everything, how you want to approach every single enemy, the only progress that you actually make in the game is discovering things. Discovering spells, discovering perks, discovering enemies, discovering secrets. And that's it. There's no real permanent progress to be made aside from learning new things, which is a neat theme. I really like it. I think that the entire idea that you have this huge world open to you with a bunch of different things to find is cool. And it's one of the things that I really have been enjoying a lot about Noita. Now, like I said, though, in the ending, as you learned, knowledge does not come without its price, and especially as I'm going to be looking for a lot of secret-y type stuff in this episode, you'll be seeing more and more how you'll often be punished for your curiosity as much as you're rewarded. Because that is just the game of Noita that we're playing. I mean, not just with that ending, but so many things. I can almost just, as I come up to a secret, name exactly how it also hurts you to use it or find it or anything like that. But first, even before I get to any of that, you do have to get a run going. You do really want to make sure that you have a powerful run before you're doing just about anything in Noita, because enemies are going to be relentless and powerful, and they will not stop for anything. So prepare yourself as much as you possibly can. I mean, the best way to go about doing Noita, there's like, I want to say 4... Yes, Berserkium is for some reason not a liquid. Well, at least not one that will put out fire. There's like 4 ways that I found to be the most effective Noita. And that kind of depends on what do you actually want to do in the game. For example, if all you want to do is you want to get down to the Temple of the Art and beat the final boss, one of the things you might have noticed is that the final boss, I think it's actually called the... I do not remember its Finnish name, its proper name, but in English I believe it's the Centipede. That dude's actually kind of a pushover, to be honest. You know, if you just get a spell, a particularly powerful spell like the Eldritch Portal that I had last time, that dude will go down real fast. So in reality, the really difficult part of Noita is just getting down there in the first place. And the best way to do that is to try to bypass enemies as much as you possibly can by just digging through the world. There's actually a bunch of different ways that you can do that. I would say that the big boy, most powerful forms of digging in the game are Black Hole. Eats through all obstacles, and they're not kidding about that. Every single obstacle will fall in front of a Black Hole, even up to the toughest and roughest terrain, which I think is Cursed Rock. The other thing that also works pretty well against that is Luminous Drill. Luminous Drill is pretty effective at digging through stuff. It is kind of a mana drain, but at least it's an infinite use thing compared to Black Hole, which only gets 3 usages per each Black Hole that you have. It also can cleave through enemy skulls. I mean, if you can cleave through rock and cleave through a Hisi skull pretty well. So that's a good way to dig. I would highly recommend getting increased mana with it, because otherwise you're going to be going through mana very quickly with how fast this thing is used. You can have like 3 luminous drills in a single wand without ever losing any mana if you got even just 1 increased mana in there. Aside from that, if all you're looking to do is dig through the earth, Matter Eater is pretty effective. Make sure you have something of a slow projectile like Slime Ball, so it can almost work as like a alternate version of Black Hole in that case. Although it does not go through Cursed Rock. It goes through everything except for Cursed Rock. And then there's Chainsaw, Digging Blast, Digging Bolt, short range, but pretty effective at going through most types of terrain. Another pretty good way to dig through stuff is Energy Orb, which actually can destroy just about anything except for brickwork and extremely dense rock. Earthquake, as soon as rock is disengaged from an area, even if it's like extremely dense rock or brickwork, it will become much softer. I don't know, acid goes through everything. You can even just take chaotic polymorph into a worm and just try to dig your way through anything, and that will also go through even cursed rock. It's just, I don't know, man. Hope you don't unpolymorph in a pretty bad location if you're attempting that, which can happen pretty easily. But I mean, that's really the easiest way. Just go get yourself a good energy orb. I would recommend buffing it up with something like speed up or accelerating shot, and just as soon as you get down to an area, aim it downwards. And make sure that you have like at least 1 Eldritch Portal to take care of the final boss. Bam, game complete. That's like the easiest way to get a game victory. It's not the only way though. I mean, certainly last time I was actually fighting enemies and everything like that, and there are certainly ways that you can do that. Which is why the second way that I would really recommend trying to... I went right into that, didn't I? The second way that I would really recommend trying to beat the game is just to get lucky. There are a couple types of spells that can really carry you through the game by themselves. Notably, I would say Lightning Bolt. 500 damage explosion will be taking care of enemies till the end game. Make sure that you have... Oh God. Somebody's using some heavy firepower down there. But yes, you do really need to have like explosion immunity and electricity immunity in one way to use that effectively, unless you're going to just be extremely careful with it. But Lightning Bolt will alone take you to the end of the game and will alone be the final boss. In the next episode, when I'm looking at the super secret type of stuff, you'll see some pretty prime examples of that. Yeah. I mean, aside from that, getting lucky, finding a weapon that has an always cast some sort of extremely powerful spell on top of it. That's, not really something that you can rely on. Which then, if you don't want to dig your way through stuff, if you don't want to lightning bolt your way through stuff, the next type of way I would recommend is try to make a good combo in the form of one of your wands. Something like the Death Cross combined with a trigger type of spell is pretty good. I mean, overall, I think like one of the best things that you can do in Noita is just try to figure out how you can combine a lot of these spells together. For example, Downwards Bolt Bundle combined with some sort of trigger spell. Whether it's, Eldritch Portal or Explosions combined with a trigger spell is pretty effective. Death Cross. Try to get like a hexagonal cast at the end of a trigger thing that also casts like a bunch of bombs or earthquake or something, or like freeze charge along with water trail, encase enemies in ice. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about creating a bunch of crazy combinations to do a lot of stuff even with just a single shot. you know, have explosion after explosion after explosion happening. Like any one of the skills that are like has a trail of poison or fire or whatever. Ooh, that was scary. Have a trail of poison or fire or whatever that arcs between projectiles, and then have like a projectile that bounces around a lot. You can just create an ocean of poison like that, no problem. There's a lot of very effective ways to do that if you're looking for what's the best way to use any individual weapon that you happen to find. There we go. Cool. And the fourth way is just stack up as many of these critical hits as you possibly can. Critical hits will increase your damage by like 5 times or something. If you got something like Glowing Lance or whatever, and you are shooting that at enemies and it's always crit, you have like Fire Trail and always crit on burning target and stuff like that, you can get a huge amount of DPS out. And to be honest, I would probably recommend combining like, oh, I didn't even see that Kona there. And overall, I would really just recommend combining like the big combo weapons with like some sort of fast firing, constant critical weapon, and that will get you a huge amount of DPS. And other things is like if you're in early game, I would recommend looking for stuff like Summon Disc Projectile, or that I got right now. Sort of a double-edged sword, though, because the discs can also do damage to yourself. But they do have a pretty substantial damage increase. 20 base damage versus 3 base damage that you get from Spark Bolt. So I'd say it's worthwhile. Try to get a... Yeah, of course. Try to get a projectile repulsion field if you really want to be using this stuff for the long haul, though. Because projectile repulsion field will also push projectiles away from you that you created, so that's good. Oh, and actually also, that's all, projectile repulsion field, this thingy, is very good with black hole, because that will increase the speed of your black hole, at the cost of making it a little less controllable, but if all you're doing is just facing it down at the ground, you can really, like, plow your way through levels, even with just the 3 casts that you get off of a basic black hole. Yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can go about being a good Noita, but like I said, what you really want to do is you want to look at every spell that you're getting and try to figure out some sort of usage with it, if you don't just want to dig your way to victory, or if you don't just happen to luck into a very good build on your own. And that's kind of like the basic strategies. But yeah, when you're first starting out, I would definitely recommend trying to find a wand with Summon Disc Projectile, or like Magic Arrow. Magic Arrow is a fairly common one too, and that does good damage. It does good stuff. So that's the first area. Not really too much to go in there, but hell yeah, I'll take this. And I will also take you. Long distance cast can be very useful for, you know, stuff like the Death Cross, or especially the horizontal barriers, which can do a lot more damage than you'd think they can do. Let's just say that. Ooh, explosion. And I already got plenty of disc projectiles. Anyway, does this reduce No, it's just cast delay. I don't know, I guess I'm just going to be working with disc projectile as it is. Then maybe if I get like a trigger enemy, or if I get like a trigger thing, I can use the explosion on that to have a decent combo. I do like more hatred, even though that can sometimes, you know, result in enemies already attacking before they even see you. I don't know. As far as perks go, I would highly recommend, like, take Permanent Shield is great. Projectile Repulsion Field is great. Crit Up, I think, is pretty good. Any one of the immunities will do you super well. If you can get something like the Repelling Cape and Invisibility or Stainless Armor, that's a good combo. Like, I'd say that Explosion Immunity should be high priority, too, because so many things do explosions. But the best of anything is perk lottery. 50% chance others won't disappear, so you get more than the 7 perks that you normally get in a run. And it also activates when you pick up perk lottery. So you can have it proc when you pick that thing up in the first place. It is, for me, the perk that you always want to take as soon as you possibly can. But shields, immunity, especially to explosions, are great. If an enemy happens to get a lot of a wand that happens to do explosions, that can be really effective. It also helps out a lot when you are... Hey, sure. It also helps out a lot when you are fighting Stavari, because Stavari projectiles explode. And, you know, that's one of the things that I didn't really talk about too much last time, which I think is pretty essential if you're trying to, you know, do any sort of, like, tips and tricks for Noita. How do you deal with Stavari? So, I would say that, you know, first off, if you don't need to summon them, don't try beating your way through the brickwork of the Holy Mountain. Because those guys are tough, and they take so much damage, and they're just obnoxious. It's like, yeah, if you are not planning to be trying to go back into previous areas or whatever, don't fire off a lot of acid around. Don't, you know, try testing out your Matter Eater spells or your, black holes or anything like that, because that can... It's like you really don't want to have to deal with them if you don't have to. But if you are trying to, like, dig your way into previous areas and everything like that, best way to deal with Stavari, melee. I mean, the way that I was using the... Oh, boy. The way that I was using, for example, the... Kill that Lamano Yaska, please. The way that I was using the chainsaw last time is great. Ooh, very nice. I was just talking about how I want criticals for stuff. Yeah. The way that I was using the chainsaw is great, especially if you have explosion immunity or even projectile repulsion. Their projectiles start out pretty slow, and they don't have a melee attack. So that if you have projectile repulsion, you'll actually just completely... Good. And there I hit myself. Stupid. But, yeah, if you have projectile repulsion, like, it'll have a very hard time hitting you. And if you go in for melee, you can take it down pretty quick. Chainsaw is great. Mining drill is great. You know, even if you just have, like, summon rock, summon hollow egg, if you have one of the hermetic tablets, just throw the hermetic tablet at them a couple times. It'll take them down easy peasy. The other thing that works very well, any sort of transmutation. Circle of Unstable Metamorphosis is going to be your best friend. Because, yeah, it's going to transform the Stavari into something random. But a random enemy is very likely to be less powerful than a Stavari. I haven't really tried throwing flasks of polymorphine or anything at Stavari, but I would think that if you can get in really close, you can probably do that pretty well. If you do happen to be one of the lucky ones to have the explosion immunity and electricity immunity, lightning bolt just goes right through their shield and will stun them for a very long time. So that's a good way to deal with those guys. The only thing that you really don't want to do is fight them on their own terms. Don't do that. Their shield is powerful. Even if you're able to beat your way through it, they have a huge, huge health pool that they will abuse to just tank your shots like crazy. So try to get something. You know, that's the thing with Noita. Lie, Steet, and Shield, man. That's the only way to play the game. Don't try to just get a powerful spell and shoot it at your enemies, unless you can shoot like 10 of them at a time on a trigger that also will shoot a ton of explosions after that and have poison arcing through each one of the projectiles. And, you know, they're all bouncing everywhere, too, so it creates even more poison than that. That is the platonic ideal for when you're playing Noita, trying to get a bunch of that sort of stuff. And that's the way you really want to play the game. I mean, you can even do stuff as simple as just like get the immune to electricity damage, but metals and liquids electrify around you constantly, and then just get water trail, drown entire areas, and then electrify them up, fry every enemy that's inside of them. It's like that's the sort of basic combo you want to be looking for when it comes to Noita. It's great. It's great if you can get it to work. But yeah, that's kind of like the basics of how I've discovered like the best tips and tricks that I can give you when it comes to just trying to conquer the witchy world of Noita. Oh yeah, I don't know if I ever mentioned it, but Noita, traditionally translated as witch. From what I understand, it's, you know, more like witch doctor than your classic Hansel and Gretel, bride of Satan type of witch. Conical hats and sitting around a cauldron. You know, fair is foul, foul is fair. But still, you know, like shaman, magician, wizard, that sort of thing. But yeah, that's those are a lot of like basic tips that I was kind of looking for when I was starting to play Noita, but I've discovered over the many over 100 hours that I have been playing this game. It's like really just try to combo together a bunch of stuff, try to get criticals up as much as possible, dig your way to victory, dig your way around everything if you possibly can, and then just get shields everywhere, immunity to stuff, and try to explore the first couple areas as much as possible just to get some sort of weapons that do a decent amount of damage. And then after that point, combos, and be creative and try to figure out how to make every single one of the spells you happen to find work for you in one way or another. Oh, okay. That's basic tips down. Now, I think that I probably want to go to the third area, and we'll start to actually do some of the secrets. Because like I was saying, you know, you want to get a solid run going first, and then, only then, you start searching around and trying to get some cool stuff. And coming up in the third area, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about with that. Unfortunately, it does not look like I'm going to be able to get to the fungal jungle as I would really like to on the left side of this area. But hey, at least I got like some health upgrades and everything like that. Yeah, you really want to try to get as many health upgrades as you possibly can. Those are number one priority, because 25 extra health, considering how hard it is to heal yourself in general, just having a larger health pool is so important, Noita. And really just keep looking out here. Yeah, of course. Well, there are also some ways that you can heal in the game. There's the... For example, there's like the... Oh no, I haven't actually talked about that. Well, we'll come up to that soon enough. There is a full health regeneration that does exist in the world outside of the Holy Mountain. But that's gonna be a little bit till I can... Ooh, interesting. Always cast hexagonal. Is maybe not the best, though. I do have long distance cast, which... I just want to... That's pretty cool. I don't know. Maybe even cool enough that I'll want to... You know what? I don't need Bubble Spark. Get out of here, you. No, Bubble Spark could probably work good with Downwards Bolt Bundle. I don't know. Oh, this isn't... Yeah, that's not... I need to have these not be shuffle. Kind of an important part of... not accidentally exploding yourself always. Yeah, I think this will probably work. So there's a basic, probably should be a basic, no, yes. It should probably be a very basic type of way to get some digging too, if I'm thinking about it. Ooh, it really does use a lot of mana though, doesn't it? Oh, well. Anything else that I might get? Nah, I think it's just going to be rolling with the disc projectiles for a little bit longer. Shove that in there, and yeah, I think we should be good to start digging through stuff. Oh, I don't have enough money. Come on. All right, well, I do at least want these two things back. The damage isn't amazing, but it does good enough. And then, oh, melee immunity. Oh, that's just... Melee immunity is so good. It just completely nullifies so many different types of enemies. All right, well, this is going to be interesting. Here, any enemies want to show up so I can explode them? Ooh, okay. Teleportation, also very useful, as you're going to see, well, for exploration, and maybe for escaping, as you'll probably see soon enough. I see worm trails around here. Hopefully that's not going to destroy the Holy Mountain. I guess I could probably use my explosion, but I don't think it's powerful enough to really take care of dudes in the way that I needed to. Stavari, specifically. Also, I really am worried about this worm coming around here, because those... Well, I guess actually, you know... No damage from melee attacks. What do I even care? Worms only have melee attacks. They have worm bites, which are... Yeah, I'm completely immune to. So, hey, Mr. Worm guy is only going to be a buddy to me unless it decides to start digging through the area around here. By the way, how good of a... Oh, that's actually a very small explosion. Well, never mind for getting digging out of that. I guess it's going to be using the... Cut that out, you. I guess that's going to be mostly just used for exploding enemies. Good, good, good. It's at least going to work well for that. All right, all right, all right. I do also need to go over to the Magic Temple. I should remember that. It's just... Oh, boy. More than anything else, I think the teleportation is great for just moving around quickly, which can be just a difficult thing in Noita sometimes. Spells move much faster than... Yeah, you do. Good, good, good. Yeah, getting that extra critical on there is great. Because, like I said, criticals just do so much extra damage. This ain't like your old... Oh, boy. Oh, boy, indeed. This isn't like your old... Missed it. This isn't like your old RPGs where it only does like 2% or 2 times damage or something like that. Good. No, criticals are huge damage increase. Come on now. All right, well, that doesn't really matter. Works out just fine for me. No, what I really want to do is I really want to get over to the right side as much as possible. Perfect. Because over here... I've got a guy who's about to get exploded. But also, there's this area. Good enough. And what's this before I kind of explore what this gigantic, mostly empty chasm is? Oh, there's some not bad stuff in here. I don't know if it's anything that I really want to be taking right now. If I had something like... If I had something like the... Worried that there's going to be that sniper still over here. Doesn't look like it, though. Yeah, if I had something like a... You know... Edit wands anywhere that could be useful for me, but right now I'm pretty satisfied with what I got. A lot of enemies are going to be taking out each other before I even need to do anything, and melee immunity is just the best. They're the best type of things. The only one that is really bad is toxic sludge immunity, because that doesn't protect you against frozen toxic sludge, frozen acid, regular acid, toxic gas. It's very not useful. So what is this area over here? I mean, I've seen a lot of people refer to it as the chasm, and it is just a big chasm. If I keep continuously kind of going up the right here, there's going to be some stuff. I mean, each area kind of has something over to the left and right of it. You know, you got the collapsed mines up on the first area. You've got the fungal jungle that is not what that's called. Fungal Caverns over in the second area on the left. This one has the magic temple on the left, and it has the chasm on the right. It's going up pretty high, you might notice. And here's a point where I can't really continue going up, but I can also just go to the other side of the chasm to continue moving on upwards. And hey, a chest. Sometimes you'll see a chest over here. Sometimes you'll see nothing. Sometimes it'll be a health upgrade, which is pretty worthwhile to try and get. But on the other side of this is the real meat and potatoes of this episode. The Orb Room. And in here, an orb. An orb of true knowledge. Seeker of knowledge, baby. And Thundercloud is pretty good. It is your basic rain cloud, except it also does thunder. And like I was talking about with Lightning Bolt, that continuously casts Lightning Bolt, which is extremely powerful. You also get more Hermetic Tablets. Alchemists who knows only half their craft reach nothing but disappointment and waste of time and money. Know all your craft. You gotta study the art. See, I told you, it's like it is a huge, huge part of the game. Also, one of the nice things about the Orb Rooms, there's a couple of them in the game, is that you get refills for your water flask, which is nice. They all kind of have this same sort of basic setup you'll see over time. And it also does now have an orb counter in the upper right. By the way, what is the cost of true knowledge, since I know you're asking? I said punished as much as rewarded. Well, the final boss was kind of weak, right? As you get more orbs, the final boss becomes more powerful. Gets more health. And then all the way over here. So yeah, thankfully I fought it at its least powerful. Although really, it doesn't ever become too much more powerful. But hey, it's something. Yeah, easiest way to get over this big lake of lava is to just spray a bunch of water on it, and then where do I come out? The first area. The mines. Yep, this is what's on the other side of that. It's... it is very nice. It's a shortcut to go from the third area back up to the first one, which is extremely useful. Like, extraordinarily useful. And by the way, that's not the only thing with this lava. Here's some footage from a run that I had where I just cleared out every single bit of lava in this entire area. Yep, and that is the second orb. And another tablet. Not going to be getting that this time, but... Well, the other thing you might have noticed is that you can actually just, say, dig through the right side of the extremely dense rock wall to just get into that area. And it's not even all that difficult as long as you have some black holes, so I might just do that right now. No, I wanted to show what was down in the big lava cistern as it existed there, because the easiest way is to really just do this. Specifically, what you're looking for is listening for the telltale sounds of an orb, which I can hear it right here. Ha! Nailed it! And if you've already gotten an orb before... Here, get out of here, you. And if you've already gotten an orb before, it becomes a familiar orb of true knowledge, and you just get extra health. And hey, extra health is useful. I mean, if anything, it's probably more useful than Nuke or Thundercloud, if I'm being honest, so... yeah. But the first time you find it, you get a specific unlock, like the secrets of stormy skies are unlocked to you. It's just every subsequent time it just becomes health, which is good. But that does also mean that the final boss is now powered up with 2 orbs of knowledge, which is bad. But hey, at least I got the volume 3 of the Emerald Tablet, which is a good one. Did you really need an entire tablet for that? Oh well, whatever. It's heavy enough to take out an enemy the same, so I guess I can't argue with it too much. Well, now that I'm back up on the first level, one of the things that you probably, if you played this game at all, you have probably explored a lot more of this area than I have. It is, of course, the surface world. Now, that's right, you don't actually need to go into the mines immediately. You can also just hang out up here. And for example, yep, if you go on top of the mountain, there is more stuff. And probably one of the more interesting things to find above the mountain. Another orb, first off. But also this altar. What do you do with the altar? Well, curiosity is rewarded. I told you. Curiosity being rewarded is a big part of the game. Oh no! Never mind, it was that one. It was that one that summons the enemies. Yeah! Curiosity is rewarded, but... I hate it. Hate it. Why does it do that? What? I mean, well, that's the game. I said that's the game. You know, it only makes sense to the one that it's just like, heed my warnings or death and decay will follow. By the way, those enemies, they are some hell of an enemies. Literally. Helvetin means hell. Or like hellish or damned or something. I don't really know. But anyway, I guess I'm not going to go back up there anymore. Jeez. Curiosity is rewarded, but... the other side of the area here that isn't that is a gigantic tree. And this tree, it's a lot tougher than your normal type of wood. You can't just kind of go around it, but on the first branch up above it is an egg. And that egg contains something that's not what I was looking for. It should contain a worm. Why are you guys not a worm? Yeah, that should always contain a worm because you need to get worm blood. Because worm blood lets you see in the dark, and I needed that for something that I was just about to go do. Why was that not a worm? What is all this then? Anyway, that's not surprising because every other time that I've been up there, well, I guess, hey, you know, rewarded knowledge and punished knowledge. Damn it, I wanted to go get that orb, by the way, but I guess that's not really going to be possible with those two the hell slimes hanging around up there. I accidentally ate slime, by the way. That causes you damage. The Noita does not like it. Am I done taking damage, by the way? Well, anyway, if you go even farther up, a lot of Haponal Yaska will suddenly spawn. And if you go even farther up, there's 2 eggs. Hooray! But nope, I'm not dealing with Haponal Yaska. I'm not dealing with the Helvetin slimes. Oh, there's the worms that I was looking for. Where were you earlier? It's like I said, should be worms up here, and they should be spawning worm blood for me. I don't know, maybe that's a new thing where it's like you gotta go up higher now to be able to get the real worm blood. Either way, this is going to be very useful for me for a little bit later when I get back down to the mines. Hopefully, because I might also just die to, you know, the Haponelyaska as well as Helvetin slimes out there. Well, that's why I got teleportation. Seems like the Helvetin slimes don't care all that much about following me around, but it is still frightening. So anyway, the next bit that I want to do here, because that's only 2 things on the surface. You can continue going... Damn it, really? You can continue going left or right to find even more stuff on the surface, but that's not really what I want to do right now. With my 11 health left. Stupid slimes, stupid Helvetin slimes. I hate those things. Yeah. And of course I will die immediately. Ooh, fun. Of course I will die immediately too if I happen to accidentally... If I happen to accidentally hit myself with my own super disc projectiles. Can I just get in there real quick? Oh, that damp rock is just is nothing doing. Fine, I'll blow one of these. Thankfully, black holes are not a danger to yourself, only to your enemies. Well, not even to your enemies. I mean, they're not only to your environment, I mean, which is your enemy, by the way, but, you know. It's only so much. Okay. Good. If I can avoid setting myself on fire, that would also be great. Oh, and by the way, those Helvetin slimes do shoot out projectiles that create lava, which is super cool and very, very useful to me in the way that they kill me, like a lot. Just take them down. Take them down. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is real stressful because all I'm doing is I just want to go see some of the cool secrets and I'm getting killed for my efforts, which again, so very in line with what this game is supposed to be about, but it's still scary. Yeah. You only take so much damage from toxic whatever. Okay, here we go. This is actually where I want to be. I did see that. Don't even think you're fooling me. Ooh, that was maybe not a great idea. All right, so this area, this is a dark cave. Way on the left side in the collapsed mines, you will find a cave that is dark. If you've ever seen, what is it, this particular spell, All-Seeing Eye, see into the unexplored, but not everywhere. This is the one place that it's talking about. You cannot see into the dark cave. It's kind of annoying. But because, you know, it does everything else, but it does not let you in there. Well, anyway, what I want to do is I want to create a little cistern so that I can do this and then get me that sweet, sweet dark sight, because this is definitely the one area more than anything else that comes in handy. Ew, that was close. First off, cool, cool, cool. Second off, I am going to blow one of my black hole charges to try to get in the side of this. Yes. Get out of here, you. I am so very... Come on. What are you even teleporting from? What are you even doing? And then let's get that going. Good. That'll do it. Re-up my flask charge. And hopefully I don't run out of my worm blood sight before I can do what I'm looking to do in here. I suppose I can also teleport around, if nothing else, to avoid drowning, but I don't know. It's perhaps somewhat questionable. Get that out even more. And you know what? I can get down here and just... There we go. After all, I do leave those spell refreshers out in the in-between areas for good reason, after all. You know what? I'm not even going to wait for this to drain out. Bam, let's go. Hey, look, it's the full health charge that I told you, the only one that exists outside of the only one that exists outside of the Holy Mountain, which that can be extremely, extremely useful for getting a little bit of health back if you're kind of jumping between each area, like I'm doing right now. Unfortunately, I am now out of black hole charges, which is not great, but at least, hey, I can explore around in the twisty passages. Maze of twisty little passages, all alike. This is mostly just a very claustrophobic type of area that exists to give you a bunch of alchemy supplies, if you were looking for that. A lot of berserkium, pheromone, the teleportadium, chaotic polymorphine, which is a little bit spooky scary because that can cause enemies to, say, like, turn into hellworms and stuff, which is bad. But that's also why I'm not going to be sticking around here for too often. If I needed a recharge on any of the stuff that I was doing, maybe I would be sticking around in there a little bit more. But aside from that, it's just a good way to have enemies transform into a Stavari and kill you. Well, curiosity was rewarded. Not necessarily because these enemies spawn, but because they do drop a pretty big load of gold when they die. So, that's something. Also, oh man, I was fighting them in my previous file and I was fighting them in a previous run. And they do not take a whole lot of damage to anything that's not, those things do not take a whole lot of damage if you're not using, if you're using the... Those things do not take a whole lot of damage if you're using the exploding thunderbolt that I was. Jeez. Glad I also got that berserkium. Give me that gold. Give me that sweet, sweet gold. Okay. Well, unfortunately, I don't really have any ability to get down and get this orb now because I did use up all of my black holes. But, hey, at least it's now open for whenever I want to go do that. As it is, though, like I was saying, there is more stuff on the other side of the mountain. Ugh. Boy, those things can be rough. But, hey, knowledge rewarded and punished. Yeah, sometimes with the way that the holes in the scenery spawn, you can just happen to go through the area even without having to, get a teleport or dig your way through that area or whatever. It's kind of handy, but not really something you can rely on too much. There's always this little area that spawns that's just filled with fish, and so it looks like a big crater with water in it. I don't know. But the more interesting thing, if you're doing a little bit of surface exploration, is getting up to this place, the desert. A unique type of area that has its own curiosities and interesting things to find. For example, this gigantic skull. Which I know something happens if you dig your way into the eye and pour a bunch of water in there, but I don't want to do that right now. I don't really have too much digging abilities after I, used up all my black holes. The other thing is this. which this particular brickwork is quite fragile compared to the normal stuff that you find. Leading into the pyramid. Pyramid is quite the interesting area. Because it is sort of, if you come in here early enough, going to be your first exposure to basically the Temple of the Art. Not only does it use a lot of... Scary. Not only does it use a lot of assets from that area in general, it also uses a couple enemies, like the Skull Rat dudes. Will you go down? The more interesting thing in here is... this. A mini-boss, which I'm not going to be fighting right now. Or maybe I should, but no. Ah! Oh boy, that was scary. Don't get too close to it because it'll activate. A mini-boss that I will be fighting later on. And later on, I did have a much better run for fighting this mini-boss. Not just the wands, which are pretty good and we'll be doing a number on them, but also because I have the essential components for Dark Firebird's old-fashioned home-style battle brew. You see, in this latest update, they've added a couple new very powerful potions. Acceleratium to help you run very fast, great for making escapes. Flumoxium, which is completely useless, but at least looks pretty. These two, though, are Ambrosia and Concentrated Mana. If you can find a little pit to throw both those potions into, Ambrosia will block all incoming damage, and Concentrated Mana will just make it so that your mana regen goes up to like 100 mana per second, or maybe even like 200 or so. It's very fast, which is useful because, well, not only not taking damage is pretty great, but this wand that I'm using right now with Concentrated Light is kind of a mana hog and is hard to use a lot otherwise. Yeah, I don't think that you're completely safe using this, though. Any sort of explosion will slowly wear away your pile of potion down there. And the stain for Ambrosia is very short. Well, anyway, Concentrated Light is exceptionally effective against this guy because the entire strategy with him is that he's got a few different attacks. Spawns a couple slime-like enemies to attack you, shoots out a few projectiles. But the most obnoxious thing is that when its shell is closed, it is completely invincible. Unless you can light him on fire. And thankfully, that is one of the side effects of using Concentrated Light. So not only do I get the initial hit, I also get that little bit of damage over time, even when I'm not able to do damage to him. As you can see right now, nothing doing. Now you gotta wait until he attacks, and that's when you can get in there. In fact, I don't even know why I'm worrying about the disc projectile. It would do good damage if I could hit it. There you go. And you can see the huge amount of damage over time it's taking now that it's on fire. Yeah, that is definitely the way that you want to go about doing that. And if you're wondering, when its shell is closed and projectiles are reflected back at you, they do also hurt you, which I found out in a run prior to this. Yeah, the wand is nice and everything, but it's not anything I'm going to be taking. But yeah, and enjoy this fun run that I had. Gives you a nice wand if you can beat it, but it's also like, I don't think I'm quite geared out for it just yet. There's also a couple other areas around here that, if I get the right items, I might come back and check out. But for right now, I think I'm just going to continue exploring around the areas instead. Because up here, Secrets of Earth's Anger. End of the Earthquake. Now, I haven't really mentioned this, but this doesn't actually unlock, like, these spells. It's just a consistent way for... It's just usually the first place that you'll find them. They can spawn elsewhere, but yes, this is just, like, the easiest place to find them in the first way. Some sort of big explosion happening. But, anyway. Yeah, there's another one, and there's another... Tablet of Thoth. Concealing the art is one of the chief anxieties of the alchemists. It's, yeah, I mean, considering that the Temple of the Art is underneath a sacred mountain guarded by not only a lot of very dangerous enemies by themselves, but also just an enormous Hisi base. It is quite well guarded, and for good reason. It's, dangerous. And then far on the edges of the world, you'll find a gigantic wall of extremely dense rock that you can get through if you have the right digging stuff, and there are rewards for doing so, but I don't really have that stuff right now. The other more important thing, though, a little bit up here, is this, which I don't really think I have too much ability to get into. And I can make an attempt. Question mark, question mark, question mark. A mysterious title for a mysterious area. What's in there? What sort of mysteries might be contained within this large diamond-shaped object? Let's just say we'll find out next time. Because, oh boy, it's something. Well, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. Endless lava. Well, that's fitting given what just happened here. The sea spells are, they have their uses, but I wouldn't really call them something essential to take. Thanks for the gold, nerdlingers. I'm out of here. Man, oh man, this game. I really do like the way that it's like, just walking around does not necessarily mean you're going to find a bunch of cool stuff. It could just mean that you are going to get yourself killed in a stupid way. There we go. Sacrifice oneself to the pursuit of knowledge is the highest tribute to the gods, which is good because I've been angering them an awful lot by destroying a lot of their temples. I can't imagine that they're too happy about that whole thing. All right, I'm going to go turn this in and get some more gold. Why not? It's what I've been doing with everything else so far. And bam. Needless to say, the teleport spell is pretty damn good. Cool. All right, time to get over that dang old tree. It's giant. Obviously, it's going to be blocking some real neat stuff. And I mean, it is. Certainly. The Snowy Wasteland, specifically. Which, yes, just to show you. Kind of overshot the tree quite a bit, but it's still here. Still doing its tree thing. Which is to say, being gigantic and obnoxious. And if you get down even a little bit, you can actually see the twisty passages down there too, which is fun, even though it's not like it's particularly important. It does provide a lot more convenient of a way to get into the twisty passages, just kind of approaching it from the Snowy Wasteland, if you happen to have a way to get over this area, than trying to navigate your way around the dark cave, which can be very irritating. Well, anyway, checking out the Snowy Wasteland, it is about as much of a wasteland as the desert is a desert. I know, who would have guessed that? And then one of the more interesting permanent fixtures of the Snowy Wasteland is this area. A gigantic wooden bridge. And if you manage to get your way through that... Yeah, not only do you find some obnoxious enemies, do you guys mind? You get this, the Frozen Vault. Yeah, you remember how much you love the regular vault? Well, you can immediately go to the another vault just a little bit off to the side that has as powerful and annoying of enemies as the original vault does, except you can possibly enter it from the very first area if you want to. Oh my god. I'm trying so hard. There. Wow, of course, I found my way right back into the vault anyway, but get out of here right now. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Is there an orb down there? Oh boy, there is. I've never gotten it because it's really, really hard to go through the vault. You can get some really good stuff down there, too. There's some real quality wands. It's just... you have to go through the vault. Except this time it's frozen. Instead of having mossy steel down there, it's got frozen steel. And that's about the only real difference. It's as tough as that other area. And rough, but... yeah. Ah, the lake. While you got the pyramid on one side, you got the lake on the... you got lake and snowy wasteland on the other. And actually a very pleasant area where you find a bunch of ducks, a bunch of sheep, deer, and in the middle, this Burning Man statue. Which, I mean, if you're asking, does that have its own secrets associated with it? Well, much like the secret area over on the other side, yes. Yes, it absolutely does. Also, its own unique enemies in the form of this, like, I don't know, lava worm? Or, it's sea worm? I mean, it's bleeding worm blood. There we go. What is that thing's name? Because I think that might have been the first time that I killed it. Yeah, it's not in the worm area. Oh, the Jolihisi. Around for the 24th, 25th, and 26th, I think. But never really got to see those guys too much. It's somewhere around here. Not that I would know what its name actually means anyway. Yeah, a little bit of a unique enemy. And then if you continue going on this side over here, another big impassable wall that you can't really do much of anything with. I mean, what happens if you go up it, though? Oh, yes, and by the way, the lake does have a bottom. There is something down there, but it literally is so far down that if you dug over to the right, you would end up in the Temple of the Art. That's how big the lake is. It's more of an ocean than anything else. But that's not what I'm doing right now. Right now, I'm going to be going all the way up the side of this. The Cloudscape. I know, it sounds really pleasant, really nice, doesn't it? Made of a material called clouds and Ukos. And the teleporting mages. Oh, the Ukos and teleporting mages. Oh, there's so many of these guys around here ready to just completely ruin your day. The major exploration done, I'm now going to be switching to post-commentary to get the rest of the orbs in the game. First up, drinking a bunch of worm blood so that I can see inside the magical temple and get immediately attacked by one of the most dangerous enemies in this area. I tried to go into the magical temple in the first run of this series, and I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. I managed to not find any particularly powerful or dangerous wands on that run, but this time, the very first enemy I'm attacked by has always cast Acid Trail. Those things are just horrible. I mean, they might have giant magic missile. They might have nuke on them. You don't know. It's completely random because it just chooses a random type of wand. Which in some ways can be helpful if you need a new wand or something before coming in here. It's just know that you're probably going to get shot a couple times by it before you can manage to hit it enough to make it inanimate once more. Oh, the magical temple is just... it's a real treat even if you have a quite good run going on. And I do have, you know, some large explosions that I can decimate enemies with. A pretty powerful summon disc projectile along with an electric torch type of wand. But even then, I nearly took half of my health just coming in here. It ain't easy. And that's not even... it's not even to say anything about the fact that you really do have to have some form of dark sight or all-seeing eye or whatever to even be able to see what's going on here in the first place. This is another very prime example of an area where you just want to dig through it if you possibly can. But hey, if you take it nice and slow, and if you don't run into too many areas blocked off by toxic clouds, you're going to be mostly okay. It's just look out for the wands. And there's the Orb Room. Yep, not too long, but this gigantic orb room does provide a large area that many, many enemies can spawn in. I don't know why I didn't just grab the orb and run. And then I got stuck on the geometry there. Oh, Slime Blood is a perk that I didn't really talk too much about before, but it is pretty good. Not because of the actual slimy blood that you're bleeding, but apparently it gives a hidden stat of 40% projectile resistance, which can be very useful, especially if you happen to be taking the projectile repulsion field, which lowers your resistance a little bit. Also, just being able to move around when you're slimed up is pretty nice. Boy, those things that explode into bone dust sure explode into a lot of bone dust, whether they're those polymorphing mages or the Stavari. So, come on. I'm just trying to read the lore, even though it's a big, dumb Monty Python reference. I mean, you can see it's the Holy Hand Grenade. And the tablet is just a big reference to the Holy Hand Grenade. And that's pretty much it for the Magical Temple, unless you want to try to find another couple of wands and potentially die to them. Next up, I had talked about this, I think, a little bit in the previous episode. There is an orb in the Fungal Caverns on the left side of the jungle. And this one, compared to... That was close. Compared to a lot of... compared to the other Fungal Cavern that you'll see in the game up in the coal mines, this one is much more expansive and actually does connect to the vaults, which can kind of be a bad thing too, because it'll let some of the vault enemies in here. It also doesn't, connect all the way back up to the surface in the same way that, say, the cavern in the third area does. So, as far as the shortcut goes, I don't know if you're going to be getting too much use out of it. As it is, though, I took this one real slow. Not only... It's strange, because a lot of the enemies are pretty much the same ones that you're going to be seeing back in the original Fungal Caverns in the coal mines, but they are significantly buffed up for this level of biome. Yeah, enemies do become more powerful over time, and it's just... Yeah, that is something that you really got to watch out for. I'm just glad that there was only one Uko, as far as I know, that appeared in this area, because, oh god, the Ukos are still killing me an awful lot, as you probably saw as I got into the Cloudscape, and as you're not going to see in a bunch of episodes that unfortunately got cut short just by getting electro-exploded on. I hate those guys. And of course, if you're trying to go up to the Cloudscape, they just litter that area in every single crevice that you can possibly find. Of course, I would not actually recommend going up the Cloudscape. It does not have an orb. It does not have anything except for another one of those triple question mark areas, which will continue to remain mysterious until the next episode. And overall, it's so difficult that I wouldn't even recommend going into it. Much like the Magical Temple, regardless of how short or how quick you might be able to get through it, there's just too many dangerous enemies to even make an attempt. At least with something like the Fungal Caverns, the enemies here are mostly manageable. They're not anything too bad. This does also strike me, though, and a couple of the other later orb areas... Well, areas where you find orbs, not like literally the orb rooms, do strike me as maybe a symptom of the game being in early access. Something I haven't really talked about too much, but Noita is still a game that is incomplete right now. And although it doesn't really seem like that when you're just going through the regular flask, will you please go down? I don't need Flumoxium, and I just wanted to explode it to get a bunch of fun confetti-looking stuff around here. But anyway, yes, when you're just going through the regular game, you don't really notice it too much. Like, the game feels fairly complete, all things considered. It's just, when you start to do a lot of the extra content and a lot of the weird side content around the world, you'll notice how many things are reused, and a couple of them are just They're just like gigantic caverns filled with nothing. When I get to those points, I'm actually going to be speeding up the video just because there's so little going on in them. Sure, there might be a couple of there might be an orb down there, but aside from that, it's just mostly a lot of empty space that I assume is going to be something along the lines of a under construction type of area. The Fungal Caverns here do also kind of have that feeling too, in the way that they are just the exact same thing as the coal mines, but a little bit larger and a little bit higher level. I'd like to think that eventually this is going to be replaced with maybe a little bit more unique. Thank God for melee immunity. Still say that that's maybe one of the best things that you can possibly get in the game. Aside from perk lottery, of course. But yeah, this might be replaced with something a little bit more biome appropriate in one way or another. But for right now, it's just mostly extra large version of the Fungal Caverns that you know and love. Still a lot of wands around here. Still got a lot of really good stuff on those wands, as well as potions and everything. It's just, if you don't have melee immunity especially, I think that a lot of enemies around here are very deadly. The Terso will take you out, no problem at all, if you get anywhere near them. They tend to take quite a beating on top of that. Oh yeah, also the mages. The mages are just awful. I hate those things so much. And I was corrected that the sort of like slouched over mage that I saw in the previous episode was one that cast toxic sludge bolts, not the ones that are polymorphers. The polymorphing ones have a pink head and they have like 3 eyes on them. They sort of look very squiddy-like. The toxic sludge ones, not very dangerous due to the fact that, well, toxic sludge is easily cleansed by water, and I mean, it's annoying to get on you, but compared to getting polymorphed into a llamas, it's not too bad at all. Yeah, there's actually been a lot of very good comments in the previous episodes, and I'm sure probably in this one too. Ooh, ambrosia, nice. I would highly recommend checking out the comment section of this because, you know, stuff like the magical liquids, I was informed, are apparently dropped by, well, is apparently the blood of the various Kalma enemies. The guys that they turn into that when you kill them, which I did actually notice as I was going through the magical temple with a chainsaw. It's just, all it does is apparently it dissipates too quickly to really see it, and I guess the only stain that it puts on your clothes is that it makes them wet. So that's kind of interesting. Also stuff like alchemy, apparently the way that works is that you don't necessarily need a physical component like sand or coal or anything like that. It might just be 3 different types of liquids, which I did not know. Any time that I've seen alchemy, which is extremely rare considering how difficult it is to kind of mess around with that, it's been through two liquids of some variety and then some third solid material. Lightning bolt. Yeah, no. I don't have explosion immunity this time, and besides, it's, like I said, it does add a pretty hefty cast time, and it doesn't really become very useful late game. One of the things that I've noticed is that maybe it's just that the fact that the reason it becomes less useful is that it has that big cast time. That a faster thing will be doing as much damage more often, as opposed to, you know, taking 2-3 seconds, it feels like, every single time you want to cast that bolt. And much like the previous Orb Room, this one is large enough to have a lot of enemies hanging around in it. But it also has a more... I don't know if I've ever actually seen this item outside of this particular Orb Room. But it's not really an elemental type of thing or gigantic explosive in the same way that a lot of the other things that I've been getting. It's Spiral Shot, which sort of shoots out a huge spiral type of projectile that can I guess you could kind of consider it like buzzsaw through enemies. Like it will hang up on enemies and hit them with a bunch of hits. It's interesting. And then since this is actually the same run that I used to beat the mini boss last time, I went over to the right side of the jungle and found the other mini boss in the game. Yes, as of right now, there's only 2 of them. The one in the pyramid and the one in the jungle. Normally that big rock would be blocking this area off, but I don't know, it's kind of fell out. Physics can be weird sometimes. Well, anyway, break open this egg, and as befitting of a place called the Dragon Cave, we get this guy. This is literally the first time I ever fought him, and, well, certainly feels like it is the first time I've ever fought him, doesn't it? Especially considering how fast I died. I don't know if I'm going to be beating that dude in the same way that I did the other mini-boss. I just wanted to show it off at least, though. Get the same thing, health upgrade, and a good wand from that, too. It's just lava worm, man. Alright, Frozen Vault. And here's where I put my money where my mouth is as far as talking about digging your way to victory. I got projectile repulsion field, and I got a bunch of black holes. And yeah, I'm not messing around with this area. This area is terrible. There's so many extremely dangerous enemies in it. Like, I'm just getting in here, getting the orb, and getting out. I don't care what else is good. What other good stuff might be around here. It's not worth it. And alright, that's that orb. I'm out of here. I guess, you know, it does make some sense that the vault would be messing with otherworldly type of things. It seems like that's supposed to be a place where they're keeping all of their knowledge about the art and about other technologies and the like. Having knowledge of the other world is something that you would expect to find in there. All right, and now we get a good showcase of just how powerful invisibility can be. As I go beneath the temple, or not the temple, beneath the pyramid, and go into the sand cave. There are actually 2 areas around here underneath the pyramid. There's the sand cave, which has a bunch of Hisi in it that can be particularly obnoxious, as well as a lot of sandstone and I guess what appears to be rusted metal ground. Not quite sure what to make of that, but at least you can beat your way through it pretty easily, using an energy orb to be digging around here when I need to. And at the bottom, there is an orb. But even farther down, and kind of compromising most of the desert, is an even larger chasm with another orb in it. And oh boy, is it huge and barren. There's almost nothing in there. Sand Cave is not a tremendously well-realized area. It mostly just has these rusty mines and a lot of Hisi around here. But at least you can kind of see what they were going for. I'm going to chalk it up again to the idea of early access, and that this place is probably going to be fleshed out a little bit more over time. As it is, though, I'm really trying to avoid fighting stuff, because this is not a very powerful run. It's just mostly the invisibility that works well. And the way that invisibility and really any enemy works is that they will try to go to where they last saw you if you turn invisible, and attempt to attack that area. So as long as you keep moving, you'll be totally fine. And since I am trying as hard as possible to avoid getting my clothes stained, which would cancel out invisibility, or attacking, I was able to get through here pretty easily, all things considered. And I think that... nope, that's not good. Nope, that's also not good. Because, hey, you know what one of the really easy stains to get on your clothing is? Blood. Your own blood from getting hit a lot. Well, and as it turns out, it was completely pointless, because here's the Orb Room right here. Get a little bit more lore. And, I mean, I guess this makes sense. You do see a lot of bones buried in the desert. Necromancy. Alright, buckle yourself in. This one is 3 times speed, and it's going to be probably kind of obnoxious to watch and even listen to, because all it is me going around the pyramid to dig my way all the way down to the bottom of the earth. Like I was saying, this is just a huge chasm of nothing, and that's actually not where I wanted to go. That's the sand cave. No, it's over here. Yep. Early access. This is actually the same run that I had going on before. It's just trying to exit the sand cave. I ran into a little bit of problems with the Hisi, who attacked me a lot. So I was being extra careful, even on top of just the usual length that it takes to go through this area, because I did not want to die to the spare Hisi that are around here. Yeah, these gigantic cavern areas, there's one in the desert, and there's one over in the sand area, or the snow area, snowy wasteland, are just kind of these general designs of rock and sand or snow, depending on which one you're in, as well as a couple basic enemies. A lot of the jetpack Hisi over here, over in the snow area, it's the dynamiting Hisi, as well as the hound enemies, just a ton of those guys. Nothing that's tremendously dangerous, though I would say that this chasm is more dangerous than the other one. But ones that will wear you down over time if you're trying to fight like every single one of them. I suppose it does also make for a very good source of blood if you're trying to exploit vampirism, but God, do you really want to spend that long trying to hack up a bunch of Hisi just to get some minor heals for health that you're probably going to lose immediately if you're like me? Did you see that mini-boss fight that I had where I just had an arrow reflected right back into my face? Yeah, there's a good example of how the Hisi are trying to attack where they last saw me rather than where I was, because I'm now invisible. And no, there's no like wands or potions or anything down here. It's just enemies, a bunch of these rock designs, kind of like a Jason Pollock-esque rock designs, and nothing. A lot of nothing. I am interested in what they are planning to put in here in the future, because there are a lot of areas like this in the game where there's just kind of, there might be something down here, but for the most part it's just kind of like open space, under construction type of areas. Cement. It's okay. I guess you could cement your way over toxic rock or something. Lava, perhaps? But I don't know. I never really found any good usage for it. It does not work on cursed rock, unfortunately, because that the hitbox for that extends a little bit beyond the rock itself. Which, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, haven't actually showed that just yet. Going to have to check out Cursed Rock. Well, going to see a lot of that in the next episode. It only appears in very specific locations, guarding some very important things, but getting through it is an essential part of getting any sort of overpowered run. I'll just say, when you do manage to find some Cursed Rock, and if you do manage to get through it, it becomes... Well, actually, you'll see an example of one of the runs that I had where I did that at the end of this episode. But here, right now, Snow Chasm. It's about the same as the Sand Chasm, except it's snowy. Energy Orb is beating its way through rock, as it's wont to do. This sort of operation is ideal for an energy orb because it's nothing too difficult to destroy, and it also hits for a pretty big area if you're hitting like a snow or any sort of soft material. So that's good, but it's also like, yeah. Needless to say, both of these runs that I did ended after getting these orbs because I did not want to make the trek all the way back up to the surface after this. It's not worth it. I mean, besides, the only real thing that you get out of getting orbs is a little bit of extra health if you've gotten the orb before, or some new type of spell, or rare type of spell at least, that you might be able to get for the first time. And it's like, that's not worth trying to go down here and then climb your way back out. Oh, and one of the things that I didn't mention about the orb is that it also changes what the prima materia is called all the way at the end of the game. Specifically, the last time I saw it, it was called the salt, but the more orbs you get, the different it gets a different name each time, much like the real prima materia, which goes by many, many different names. All that's known is that it is an essential part of creating the Philosopher's Stone. And aside from that, it's ephemeral and indescribable first matter, and that's all you can really call it. Okay, Orb Room, which, man oh man. For your efforts, you get the decoy. A deer decoy. Great. Totally worth it. And another one, the Emerald Tablets, but whatever. I'm not going to be turning that in at the altar back up on the surface anyway. And now for the final orb. And this is the run that I was talking about earlier, where if you are a very diligent explorer, you can really get quite the overpowered run. So I started out immediately before the final boss. This is the laboratory that you get to after the Temple of the Art. And one of the very overpowered wands that I have right now is a wand that casts Slime Ball, always casts Matter Eater, and also has a freeze shot on it. And the reason that everything's bouncing around so much is because I have bouncy spells, which I accidentally picked up when I was trying to pick up Edit Wands anywhere. Oh well, doesn't really matter. It certainly makes it easier to dig through stuff when you got that going on. And so, I mean, I even made reference to this in the last episode where you can go down beneath all of the lava, the gigantic volcanic lava lake that is underneath the final boss. It's just, well, you might not want to. I mean, I want to because there is an orb down here, as well as some other interesting things. But, yeah. Another really effective way to get down here is to just have the what is it? The freeze aura perk, which will just completely nullify lava as soon as you land on it. Then you just need some sort of form of digging on top of that. So here we are in the work. You might recognize some of those enemies from earlier when I tried to turn in the tablet volume 3. Yes, the work, for some reason, is represented as hell. Even the dense and extremely dense rock is skull-shaped down here. I'm not quite sure why that is, to be honest. And the enemies down here are of an appropriately hellish type of difficulty, to the point that I'm going to be cutting because I spent way too long fighting them for no real reason. Oh, and here I think we get the proper title card. There we go. Yes, why is this referred to as the work when that's supposed to represent, like I said, the great work, the Philosopher's Stone? But, well, here we are. Thank God I have such a ridiculously overpowered run. Just look at my health bar. It's going off the screen. Look at the perks. I told you that it's possible to get an infinite amount of perks, and this is definitely a run where I did that. But yeah, aside from that, we have the lava slimes. We got the some kind of like crystals. As soon as you get near them, they shoot out a bunch of projectiles. There's also some sort of like crawling spider lava blob thing too, which shoots out which shoots projectiles out very, very quickly. Except I have 2 projectile repulsion fields, so yeah, they ain't hitting me. They also have just an ungodly amount of health, so yeah, would not recommend fighting them. Another part of this terrain is that there's a bunch of hell slime around here. Anything that isn't the extra dense rock is hell slime. And also the enemies around here, like, turn into hell slime after you defeat them. Their corpses turn into that. Hell worms hanging out around here too. So I would call them probably like the younger brother to the dragon worm that I found, the mini boss that I found in the underground jungle, which is to say that I'm not going to be defeating any of them right now because, like I said, I had to cut just to defeat the first couple of enemies that I found in this area. It's not worth it. Sure, they might spawn a bunch of gold, but you're looking at this run, look at how much gold I have right now. I don't need anything more. No, what I need is the final orb of the game, which should be somewhere in the center of hell if I can possibly get to it. Yeah, most of the orbs are in, well, kind of approachable areas. Mostly approachable areas. This one is... you have to dig past the final boss to get to it. Oh, and is it worth this effort? No, not at all. I mean, most of the orbs are not really. Maybe in Nuke you could say was worth it, but this one... well, I'll get to it soon enough. Yeah, most of the spells are nice to have that you get from orbs, but I don't think any of them are worth trying to make the trek over to the orb to get it if you just want to, like, check it out or something. Alright, digging my way through the bones of many, many deceased people, which I guess have been down here long enough to petrify into extremely dense rock. Why not? I should find the Orb Room coming up right to my left here, I think. And there it is. That's right, it's fireworks. Oh boy. And also a lot more enemies around here. These gigantic areas really just provide for that very easily, don't they? Don't even know why I'm bothering fighting them. Anyway, like I said, you'll be seeing a lot more of this run next time, but as it is, leave you with the secrets of jubilation.